Welcome to the video. Today we will be playing our blue-white deck. This is very similar to the deck that I played recently at Eternal Weekend last month. The only significant change is we are adding the One Ring. So the One Ring is an incredible card draw engine. I didn't think to try this before just because I thought this card was only really good with basically jewel type decks, cards that are going really into combo type turns. Combo is something I'm not really trying to do with this deck. I'm just trying to sort of grind, get some creatures in play, counter your spells, and hopefully you're dead through the dungeon. And some of my creatures and some of the I guess there's a combo. There's a combo. The manifold time, like the manifold key with the time vault, is definitely a combo, like for sure. But my main game plan, that's not my main game. That's plan B. So plan A is definitely counter your spells, play a guy, and go through the dungeon and prevent you from drawing cards with Hull Breacher. So I figured let's try out this One Ring card. It's been doing a lot of work, and whenever one of my opponents has one in play, they're essentially paying 3 life over the course of 2 turns, 3 turns to gain access to, 1 card, then 2, then 3, etc., etc. And the protection is very interesting with the dungeon creatures, because one thing is when you don't have that many dungeon creatures, holding the initiative is quite hard. You can, again, get it back by just playing another guy, but we're not in, say, mono white, where they're on like the 4 and 4 and sometimes even more of the dungeon creatures. So for them, losing the initiative isn't that big of a deal, but in our deck it is. And with all of the Lurrus running around, we need to have some serious card advantage in our deck, and the One Ring provides that. So I thought, why not throw the One Ring in the blue-white deck and give it a try. So that's what we're going to do today. I want to briefly go over the recording aspects of the video. Again, this is the 3rd video in the series, and it seems some of the kinks aren't quite ironed out yet. Magic Online has had some serious issues recently, and they've had some serious downtime. I haven't been able to make a video in a little bit because of that, just because of my schedule and Magic Online's downtime have not really lined up. And so I'm finally able to make a video this week. I'd like to make at least 1 video every week. That's kind of my goal. So I thought for this video, because I haven't done one in a few days, I'm just going to try to do a double video. So basically we're going to go through a league, and then we're going to actually play a prelim, which is a 4-round event, and it's held 3 times a week on Magic Online. So we're going to play a 5-round league, and then we're going to play a 4-round prelim. So it's going to be a long one, so get a snack and a drink or something, and we'll start it off now. So this is round 1 of the league, so we're just going to go through the 5-round league first, and it looks like we took a mulligan. And again, I'm going to slow down the speed a little bit here on the playback. Oh, it's already slowed down. Interesting. All right, well, let's just keep it going and see if we can keep up. So it looks like we're on the draw, and this is our opening hand. Let's see what our opponent's playing. All right, workshop. So they're definitely on some. So they're just jamming a time vault. Just turn 1. Do you have a Force of Will? We do, thankfully. They're just running out all their zeros. It seems like the speed is okay, because I do pre-record all the matches and then go back over top. And you can sort of tell how the cards are just sort of floating and going at a weird speed. All right, so looks like they were all in on that time vault because they just sort of played it, and that's about it, and just pass the turn back to us. So we're going to see what this One Ring card does, if it resolves. Alright, so they do have a force. So forcing our ring is definitely bad for us because we don't have anything else, but it seems like they don't have anything else either. So, but we do have an active saga, so that is something going for us. We'll probably end up getting a top off this. Opponent just passed the turn. Alright, we draw another saga, which isn't bad actually. We're just making creatures, getting some value. We might be able to cast this dig at some point. I've really been liking dig in the deck. That's something that I've added in the past few weeks, and I really enjoyed it. Wow, they just concede. Okay. I guess they were all in on the vault, and we just countered it, and they just see two sagas coming, and they can't deal with it. So we'll just go to game 2. All right, we're going to kick off game 2. Opponent on the play. They start off Ancient Tomb at the top into a Mana Vault. All right, so we got a cracked Lotus start here. So we're just going to tinker turn 1. They force. We're just going to use our blue mana to brainstorm, look for a force, but we don't find one. Probably going to tinker for a One Ring on turn 1, but we'll settle for a Dismantler. So this is a card I've been bringing out of the sideboard against all these artifact-based decks, especially Jewel. Jewel is all over the place right now. It's a very, very popular deck. So, and I think we're actually playing against Jewel. I don't even know. We saw a Time Vault, and that's about it last game. And well, we did see a Workshop, so yeah, we're definitely probably playing against Jewel, but I never even saw any real Jewel-esque cards. I guess Force of Will and Time Vault and Workshop, yeah. So we're playing against Jewel. So Dauntless is insane against Jewel. You definitely want to wait to pop him as late as possible, because I've had the problem of popping him and they just go, okay, so Seagate Wreckage is for sure jeweled. So like I was saying, I've made the mistake of popping the Dauntless for like 0 or 1, trying to blow up a lot of their artifacts. But you really don't want to. Wow, we drew a Wasteland. That was great. You really don't want to do that. You really want to just leave him in play as long as possible. Just leave him in play. I know it's very tempting to destroy zeros and constructs, but really just try to hold out as long as possible, because he does so much work when they have their combo turns. It just shuts them down. And you're more often going to steal the Jewel if you leave him in play as well. So if you just sort of let them do their thing and put some Jewels in play, it's really hard for them to get there. So they're just going to cast a Jewel here and see it enters tapped, so that they do draw their cards, which is scary, but entering tap, not giving that mana is huge. So a great draw would be like a Swords here or something to deal with this construct. So whenever I play against Jewel, I definitely bring in another Swords. I don't go up to the full 4, obviously, but I do play 2 post board, just because they do have annoying creatures that they do put in play with the Urza Saga and with the Metamorph. The Metamorph is particularly annoying because they often steal the initiative, and it's sometimes hard to get back, and that's how they can beat us. Alright, so we have a White Plume, we're getting an island, and we're just going to pass. We have 2 blockers. I definitely would jump block with the White Plume to hold the initiative if the opponent tries to steal it, but more often than not, they usually just have a Metamorph just to copy to steal. Alright, we got them down to 10. Their Saga's ticking up. And it looks like a Metamorph here. Yep. Okay, so they're going for a Jewel instead of a copy. copy my creature. Oh, okay. What do they got here? Grim Monolith. See, all their stuff entering tapped is just, it's so good. The Dauntless does so much work, slowing them down. They're gonna PO. Yeah, PO for a lot, maybe 7, 8. Just run everything out. But still, having their artifacts under tapped is just amazing. So they do decide to steal the initiative with their Metamorph, which is definitely something that I expected to happen. But they did tap their Saga, so they're forfeiting making a construct. But they put just enough artifacts in play to where the 4/4 is a problem, which was definitely a good play by them. So we don't have any way to get through. So we don't really have a good attack, but we do have a force. So if they play something scary, we could try to force it, but we only have 1. So we could hard cast Force of Will or Force of Negation here. So they're going to Scry, which is definitely good for them. Looks like they top bottomed on the Scry. Their life total is 4. But they've drawn like a million cards. So it looks like they got the key with the Saga. And play another Saga. I think they're waiting for me to pop the Dauntless at this point. Karn I try to fight over. And I pitch instead of hardcast because I want to be able to pop the Karn Structs. I'm kind of surprised I didn't pop there because that would have prevented 1 additional card draw, but it's probably fine. Just 1 additional card. They have already drawn so many. So we're definitely getting closer to... Oh, they just pass. So I guess because they don't attack, I'm not going to pop. We're definitely in a bad place here. Alright, so I'm going to have to pause the video. I'm getting a phone call right now. Sorry about that. Alright, sorry about that. I got a phone call I had to take. But that doesn't change the fact that we're still in a bad place here. So they're making a treasure that'll enter tapped. So I think I'm just trying to hold off as long as I can to pop this Dauntless. Okay. I don't think there's going to be a window in which I can sweep up all their constructs, because right now they're pretty much attacking for lethal. Okay, so this Might Stone is definitely forcing my hand, so I definitely have to pop now. But it's not looking good. So I pop here, because they tried to kill him with the Might Stone. But they still have the initiative. And now they're tinkering. So they're just going to tinker for a vault here and win. So, yeah, that's how it goes. On to the next one. Alright, game 3 up against Jewel. So we keep this hand. We have a Null Rod in our opener, so snap keep. We have a Force 2, so if they do anything scary on this turn, we can try to stop them. But we're definitely going to try to slam the Null Rod on turn 2 and see if it resolves. So it looks like they're just running out their zeros. And what else do they have? PO, so we're definitely going to counter this. Alright, so PO doesn't go through, and we're going to untap and try to slam a Null Rod. So the fact that they didn't force back just telegraphs that they don't have a counter spell, so this is definitely going to resolve. I mean, that's not 100% true, but it's more than likely true, so it does resolve. Alright, so let's see what opponent does. Opponent is Ancient Tomb Pass. So if we draw a land here, we're definitely in the driver's seat. We can just play a Hull Breacher. We get a Ponder. So Ponder, we're gonna draw the land. And probably just pass. Yeah, we just pass with a Time Walk on top. So next turn we can Time Walk or Hull Breacher, whichever. Okay, so opponent's just scooped. Yeah, the Null Rod is devastating for the Jewel player. So yeah, just mulligan to a Null Rod and win the game. It's that simple. I think a lot of people are trying out the format with the free token that Magic Online provided in All Access Pass. So I've seen a lot of new names in the queue, names I haven't seen. So that's very cool that people are trying it out. So our turn 1 Lavinia resolves into our Lotus. We're going to tinker for a 1-ring. Uninterrupted. Opponent did reveal a Luris, so we are playing against a Luris deck. Not sure which flavor of Luris. Alright, so Island pass. That doesn't really tell us too much, but having an active 1-ring is insane against Luris. Because our card advantage engine is vastly superior to their Mishra Bobble engine. Alright, so we're just going to attack with Lavinia. We have lands and spells. We do have a backup ring as well. They're just going to cycle. I think opponent definitely would have tried to counter this Lavinia on turn 1 if they could, but a lot of Luris's counter spells are mainly focused towards spells and not creatures. So this Time Vault's definitely scary. We're going to have to figure out a way to deal with that because they can just win out of nowhere because we don't have an answer to it immediately. We're fetching basics just because Luris is known for their affinity for wastelands. Alright, so we have a Teferi, so we can bounce the Time Vault, but we still don't have a counter spell. So alright, so there's their wasteland, and they're just going to slam the Time Vault again. So we need to find a key. They're just firing it off on the Tundra. We need to find, not the key, we need to find the Pithing Needle or something else here. We're just going to attack with Lavinia. We don't find anything. We do have a Force of Will, so if they try to jam the key, then we have a force for it. I definitely should have, I think I could have sequenced that to where I left up blue mana. That was definitely a mistake. So I could have had Spell Pierce and Force of Will, but luckily it didn't matter. So we're just going to fire off a Wasteland back at them. Usually I hold the Wastelands obviously for their sagas, but we do find the Needle off the 1-ring. So yeah, drawing 5 cards definitely helps with that. And opponent concedes. So that's just a display of how insanely broken the 1-ring is and why I'm never taking it out of my deck. Alright, game 2, we're on the draw. We won game 1 against this Luris deck. So we did see an Underground Sea, so they're the blue-black version, which I think is better against what I'm trying to do because they have Bowmasters in their deck, which help steal the initiative, and they're just troublesome. I think the white version is good too, but I think I think they're both good. They're both annoying. I don't like either one. I don't like playing against Luris at all. It's definitely my least favorite matchup. Their grind engines are just so good, and they can just go and go and go, and they just can last for turn and turn. We'll go to turn 12 and they still have really good card advantage. So interesting here. I'm not really sure what I'm doing here. Probably should have just snapped Wasteland to them to just put them to the test. It looks like I'm going for an upkeep recall. Upkeep recall isn't as good when you're on the draw. And this is why. Yeah, they have a Bowmaster immediately. So I'm going to try to force it. I probably should have just recalled on my turn. So we recall, it resolves, and we draw 3 Swords to Plowshares. Not particularly ideal, but that's okay. Alright, so we're going to play the Saga. And hope they don't have a Wasteland, because we have nothing else. But it's a Luris deck, so they always have a Wasteland. And there's the Wasteland. And they pick up their Luris. Yeah, that recall drawing 3 swords isn't terrible, but it's not really what we want to be doing. So we time walk. We just need something in play. We need a creature. Yeah, we're just drawing all lands and removal. I think that turn I probably should have played the Wasteland. I definitely try to hold the Wastelands for their sagas, but it just gives them the perfect mana to play their Luris and get that going. I definitely probably should have played the Wasteland instead of the Tundra. So they know we have multiple swords, so they just let this happen because it's going to happen eventually. So they're able to get 1 bauble off of their Luris, which isn't the end of the world, just 1 additional card, but somehow giving Luris 1 additional card just turns into 2, 3, 4, 5, etc., etc. They just sort of steamroll once they get their card advantage engine going. So we drew a Saga, so that's pretty good. Definitely would rather draw creatures, I think, in this spot. Would rather have a creature instead of a Saga. So they're gonna Demonic Tutor. I wonder what they get. Let's see. So they, I don't know if they Demonic Tutor for the cruise, but that's what they just cast. Alright, so our Saga lives to untap, which is good. But again, we don't really have anything going. We do have an answer to their Saga with the Wasteland. But actually, now that I think about it more, I think it's probably okay that I didn't play Wasteland that turn, because we have so many answers to Luris that just holding the Wasteland for a Saga is definitely correct. So we're going to be able to make at least 1 construct, which is good. So this is a spot where like Dig Through Time would be a great draw. So they have recall. I guess they didn't find it, so we're going to be able to get 2 constructs. But no Wasteland doesn't really mean we're safe, because this deck does play Dress Down. So we draw another land. Hopefully we get a top off this Urza Saga. So we make a token. And what do we get off the Saga? And they do have the Dress Down, just like I thought they would. I think they should have waited for us to search, maybe. I don't know. Because now we have more information. So now we're definitely grabbing the top. Alright, so we spin into a Teferi. I'm not sure if we try to play it this turn. No, we just wait a turn to play it. I mean, they have 7 cards in their hand. We're probably dead. don't think it matters. So they time walk. Okay, they have a Saga, so time walk, Urza Saga combo. And they have a Bowmaster, so they're drawing the good parts of their deck where we're just kind of floundering. And now any card draw spell is punishing. I definitely don't think I played this portion of the game optimally. I do remember this part. I don't really like the way I sequenced how I played, but we're definitely learning. Bowmaster is a tricky card to play against because it's not in every deck in the format. It's only in this deck. Nobody else plays it, so you really only see it against this blue-black variant. So we have the Strip Mine for their Saga. They're going to make a construct in response, which is smart. And we're going to try to resolve our Teferi. So, like in this instance, I'm going to bounce the token, one of them. And I definitely should have swords their Bowmaster before I activated Teferi, because they're not going to be able to respond. I think that's what I was thinking, is they were going to be able to respond, and so they're just able to ping the Teferi for free, which is like a complete blunder. So we're so far behind, we don't really have anything going on here. And they're just gonna draw off Lorient. I know there's a Spell Pierce on top of the deck. And again, if I would have just swords the Bowmaster, they wouldn't be able to get a ping here because I'm gonna try to fight over this. So they get a ping, their guy gets bigger. I mean, I definitely should have, well, I don't know. So they have the misstep for the Spell Pierce. And they're gonna gas up. Yeah. Definitely made some mistakes here. I wish the Bowmaster was off the board, but I'm just gonna keep fighting through it because I don't think, I'm not dead. I can definitely still, do something. I have a Saga. I can try to get this top in play. Okay. We're definitely, we have 2 removal spells. It's definitely not over, but they've definitely drawn a good portion of their deck. They're at 26 cards left in deck, so they've seen over half of their deck, which is kind of ridiculous. Alright, so I'm going to try to swords both these creatures. They're going to Spell Pierce me. So casting Spell Pierce when I have a million mana just telegraphs they have Flusterstorm. So I pay because I make them use the Fluster. Yeah, the Fluster, just like I assumed. But again, you just kind of have to work through their counter spells and then try to present a threat and try to come back. They have a Strip Mine for our Saga. And again, this Orc token should only be a 1/1. Like if I would have swords the Bowmaster forever ago, and if this creature was only a 1/1, this game would have lasted so much longer. Like them just poking me for 1 every turn, I definitely probably would have drawn out of this, because their deck is like, while good, while annoying, is just full of just cheap interaction that tries to slow you down, but when you get to a certain point in the game, that you can really try to take over back. So it's kind of this weird sort of, they stop you in the beginning, then they pull ahead, then if you can get over their initial card draw, then you can pull ahead. So it's kind of this weird game. So even though this Dungeoneer resolves, I don't think it really matters too much. So they have a Soul Rend. They've probably been sitting on the Soul Rend the entire game. I just haven't presented a creature for them to use it on. Soul Rend is just an amazing card against the mono white deck. It's just kill their creature and then draw a card is just like insane. At instant speed too. It's 1 and a black. It's such a great card for their sideboard. Specifically against mono white, but it just so happens to hit this deck as well. Because we do play the mono white creatures. Alright, so we're going on turn 11. This game's just grind and grind and grind. So Snapcaster Mage, targeting Time Walk, and this pretty much seals it up. Yep, so we're just going to go into the next one. They just untap and kill us with creature combat. Alright, game 3 against this Lurrus deck. So the last game we played about 13 turns, so let's try to not play 13 turns. Alright, so we try to turn 1 recall. They have the misstep. I'm going to try to force, because I definitely want this to resolve. And they have the force back. Wow, okay, so we lost that one, so I'm pretty sure we're going to lose the game. Them having the misstep was just perfect. We needed that recall to resolve. So they have Mox and Saga, which is a good start for them. So we drew a force, but unfortunately have to cycle this Lorien Revealed for a land. So I cycle it for a Tundra, because although I would like to get an island, we do need white mana, and if they have a Wasteland, we're just so far, we're just super dead. But I think my thinking was, okay, so they have a Mox. They're just making a guy now. Oh, so they're, okay. So they made a guy, and then Tolarian Academy picked up Lurrus. But if they Wasteland me on that turn and they don't have a Mox, then it prevents them from making 2 constructs, so I'm kind of okay with that trade. So we play the Dauntless, and in doing so, they don't make another construct, they just go for their Lotus. Alright, so we just take the 4 off the construct token. We draw a Wasteland. So interesting here, we can just waste their Academy, pop the Dauntless, and put them to 0 permanence, which I think it's what we're going to do, because it's probably correct. So we just pop that, we just put them to 0 permanence in play, and just force them to have something, I think. Okay, so they have no land drop, no nothing, so now we're just both in this, okay, so drawing a land is good. So we're both in this weird sort of top deck mode, where in some form or fashion I was able to completely wipe their board of every single permanent, and we're just drawn off the top. And we have a White Plume coming, they force, which is fine, because any creature, I mean, we have mana, they don't, so if they're using their cards to fight our stuff, like whatever, it's fine. We'll just draw more. So they have a Bauble. So interesting here, they look at the top of our deck, so they know what we're gonna draw. So that must be like pretty disheartening to see what we draw, because we just draw another White Plume, I believe here. Yeah, we just draw. So hopefully they don't have another force. I don't remember if they do. They don't. Alright, so now we can just grab a Plains or another island and continue on with our game. Probably grab a Plains, yeah. Just to make sure they can't waste us off white. Kind of crazy that turn 1 our recall didn't resolve, yet we were still able to basically overpower and come out way ahead and just completely destroy them. Alright, so we're going to forage here. We're going to try to end the game as quickly as possible. I think drawing another Dauntless here would just be lights out. We drew a Force of Negation. So we have Force up, we have Swords up, we have a lot of options here, and the game's gonna quickly come to an end because we have a very fast clock. They're gonna take 10 next turn. Yeah, White Plume's a messed up card for sure. Alright, so they're gonna get trapped. Take 5, go to 1. We drew a Saga. Just everything. So even though our recall didn't resolve, we were just drawing so hot off the top of our deck. And opponent has absolutely nothing, so. Alright, they're at 1. And I don't think there's anything they can do at this point. They take a draw step, play a bauble. And pass the turn. I guess they just want to see what they draw maybe off the bauble. I'm not sure. Yeah, so they drew their card and conceded. So that game went extremely well for us. Even though we didn't draw 3 cards, we still drew amazing. So great win versus Luris. It is round number 3. I'm not sure. That Luris game took so long. And we're playing against this username, which is very familiar. I see it at the top of the leaderboards pretty consistently, and they always play mono white. So let's see if they're still playing mono white. I think I mulliganed to try to find a hand that was good against a turn 1 white mana source or mana White Plume or something that I could counter, but I didn't find it off a mull, so yeah, I mulliganed to 6. So they're just wastelanding us and playing a Ruby, Jet, and that's it. So they don't have a turn 1 initiative creature, which is good for us, but we don't really have. Okay, so we draw a Tundra. So I spin, find the Time Walk, play the Time Walk. I'm not really sure why I did that. So I leave Hull Breacher on top and play the Lavinia. I'm not really sure why I did that. I should have probably just played the Lavinia and pass, because it's kind of just the same thing. Maybe I get through like one more card or something, I don't know. So opponent plays a Caracas, which is the perfect answer to Lavinia. So I attack. Opponent doesn't bounce the Lavinia, and so I just pass. So they try to strip mine our Tundra, so I put the Hull Breacher in play. And for some reason they never really bounced the Lavinia with the Caracas, which I never really understood. They're definitely a very competent player. I know they know that Lavinia is legendary, but for some reason they just consistently take this damage, and I don't understand why. Okay, so maybe they didn't bounce it because they wanted to hold up this Containment Priest that they're playing main deck, but I'm not really sure. Containment Priest main deck in the mono white is definitely something. I'm not mad at it, but I don't know if it's entirely correct. It's not like we're in a prelim, because a prelim is like full of bizarre decks. But this is just a regular league. Alright, so they have the Wasteland for our Saga. So we kind of really don't have anything going on here. I definitely keep drawing off this top, which I probably shouldn't be doing. Or I keep drawing with the top. Because then I just have to keep replaying it, but I guess I got nothing else to do. Not sure why I played it off the Pearl. Alright, so they're going to probably have a dungeon creature. Yep. And we're going to spin in response. Alright, so we have a force or a swords. We're just going to leave the swords on top and just swords it on the next turn. This deck does play one swords main deck. So we have one and exactly one option answer to a creature in the main, which is usually enough to get us there. That's why I really only play one. Some decks play 0, but we go up to 4 post board against this deck, so we're definitely a lot better in our post board matchup. I definitely think our deck is particularly strong against mono white post board. Game 1 is kind of 50-50, maybe 60-40 in their favor. But post board, I believe we're vastly ahead because we have all the removal, we have Portal, we have Tinker into Vault Key, and they're just playing dudes. And so another dungeon creature. So I definitely think post board our matchup is extremely favored. So if we can steal game 1s off mono white, we're definitely looking good to win the match. Alright, we're going to spin our top in the end step. Kind of don't really find anything here, unfortunately. And again, our opponent just neglects to bounce our Lavinia. It's kind of crazy. Alright, so we do find a Saga. We're going to try to get our Saga going here. But an unchecked Dungeoneer is definitely scary. For sure. I think when we took the initiative, we definitely should have got our second basic island, because we could have cast this Dig Through Time. And without the second blue, we just can't cast it. And that was a great opportunity to grab the island, especially because we already had the Pearl in play, so we already had our white mana. So I definitely think that was a mistake. I'm probably just staring at this Dig Through Time, like, why can't I cast it? Alright, so they leave a white plume on top. They play another dungeon creature, which is terrible for us. And at this point, they're pretty much locked into winning. So they go into the archive to draw a card, and so they can, and then play a tomb, so they can immediately play their white plume. So yeah, that's GG. So yeah, opponent got this one. I scoop. All right, game 2 against mono white initiative. Like I was saying, we mulligan. Turn 1 Lavinia. Like I was saying before in our other game, post board we're definitely favored, I believe. Heavily favored, maybe. But pre-board, it's kind of more 50-50. But turn 1 Lavinia is just lights out, because now they can't play any of their Moxen to jam their turn 1 creature like they like to do so often. So us having the strip mine, I'm definitely going to strip mine them. Because if we can just prevent them from developing their mana. Alright, so top strip mine. So they have a wasteland. We're playing on basics here. But that will answer our Saga, unfortunately. But we're going to make them use it, because that's one less mana source they have access to with this Lavinia in play. And we spin immediately. Not sure why. Oh, we find the mana crypt. So we mana crypt so we can play our Dungeoneer this turn. I think this is probably fine, but we are going to lose our top in the process. But I think getting the threat ASAP in play is definitely what we want to be doing against them. So if they wasteland our Saga, that's just terrible for them. They're just so far behind, even more so than they are now. And they just concede. Yeah, that game was definitely, we just turn 1 Lavinia and they couldn't do anything. All right, game 3 against Mono White. They're on the play. We have our Force and our openers, so we're definitely keeping this hand, I assume. Yep. Our mana situation is kind of iffy, but it looks like they're, yeah, it looks like their only white source is this Petal, so we're definitely going to force whatever they play. It's an Archon. So hopefully they don't have another white mana source. So we're just going to go Saga Pass. And they just immediately wasteland our Saga and play a new Saga. So this could be bad for us. Okay, we draw the fetch land, which is a very good draw. Well, that was close, because if we had to play the Caracas, they could have just completely ruined us. Okay, they have a strip mine. Okay, so now it doesn't really matter what we do here. All right, so it looks like we get an island and brainstorm and play the other basic and sort of let them choose which one they want to hit. I wonder which one they're going to strip mine. I can't remember if it's the blue or the white. It's the white. Okay. It doesn't matter which one they hit, really, I guess, because we have access to both still. So they have a Cavern on Archon for another Archon, which is annoying for sure, because now all of our lands will enter tapped. I sort of just played out that basic plains just to sort of get it out of the way, because I knew they were going to strip mine me and I just wanted to get them to use it. And they have another Archon. So this is now the third Archon they've played. So they didn't wasteland our Caracas, so we're going to be able to swords one of these, which is great. We only have one more basic in our deck. So if we draw it, we can play the White Plume. If we don't draw it, we're definitely going to just sword something. So we draw 1 ring. Immediately swords. Probably just trying to get some F6 value. So they use their wasteland on our Tundra, which is fine. Alright, so we have a Lorien revealed. We can cycle this for our last basic and then play our Dauntless. And so this was just to be a little bit more mana efficient, I think, because it allowed us to play our spell under this Archon. And then we drew a Tundra, which enters tapped. So playing the White Plume here is a little tricky, and I neglect to play the White Plume just because they can immediately steal the initiative. And I really don't want to let them steal the initiative with a flyer when they're so low on white mana. It can just completely fix their mana, so I'm just going to flash this Hull Breacher in on their turn. I really wanted to try to get that 1 ring down, but I think if I'm able to get the White Plume and the 1 ring down and have like a turn cycle of protection, so we ponder into a Time Walk, which is really good. Fortunately, we can't cast it. Oh no, we shuffled actually. Okay, wow, okay. We still drew that Needle. I think because the other 2 cards were so bad. Alright, so this turn I pop the Dauntless in their upkeep so they don't have access to 3 mana, because I know at this point I'm going to play the White Plume. Okay, so they don't have a mana, so I feel a little bit more comfortable playing the White Plume, and I drew another land. So I can hopefully untap and 1 ring and have 2 creatures in play. Popping the Dauntless might have seemed kind of weird, but I was trying to keep them off mana because I knew this was coming, because they're gonna for sure have mana when they steal the initiative, and I have to put the initiative into play, which I don't really want to do, but they're winning the race on damage. But hopefully they put a land into play that is not wasteland, so we can play our ring. So they're definitely going to get their land here. And do they have a follow-up? They do. An arbiter. Okay. Alright, so we're still able to steal the initiative back and then keep it for an additional turn cycle. And smartly, I don't play my mocks, because if I do, we can't play our One Ring because of the Archon. So they choose to block the Hull Breacher. And I choose to scry, which I think is probably a mistake. I probably should have put counters on, because if they play their White Plume and steal back the initiative, it'll be a 3/3 as well, so it'll be awkward. Because even though I have protection, they can still get the initiative back. So they play a Null Rod, and I think I was thinking about maybe drawing a card off the ring, but I declined it because I thought this game might go long, and even having one counter on the ring can kill you, especially when these games are going on for so long. We're on turn 11. This is just crazy. Okay, so swords is perfect. So I asked them if they want to block, and they decline. And I just pass. So swords is great. It's going to help us hold the initiative unless they play another guy. So they attack. So I went from the Lost Well into the arena to make them attack, because I think I wanted to maybe draw a card, because I just wanted to draw a card. But because they had removal for my White Plume, it allows me to then go to the Catacombs to make a creature. Like, drawing a card's great and all, but like having a confirmed creature in play is like what I want to be doing at this point. And traversing through the dungeon, you have these weird moments of like where like you can choose which room you go in. So like these little decision points where you can scry, then go to arena, arena is definitely probably the worst room in the entire dungeon, but it's still great. Like, forcing a creature to run into one of your big guys is good at certain points of the game, but usually it's the least used. I would say arena is probably the least used room. So we hit the throne 3. Our only option was Lavinia, and luckily we didn't whiff. So we have a menace creature, and we have a Urza Saga, so we're in an amazing position at this point. It's going to be really, I don't know what they can do here. Yeah, they really just stumbled on mana. We were able to keep them off their lands. We were able to develop our game plan and just go to turn 14 and win. All right, start of the next round. I guess we kept our opener. It looks like we're playing against Jewel again. So they Seagate Wreckage. Or Seagate, what is it? Reborn, not Wreckage. That's a different card. Just so they can Ancestral on my upkeep, but luckily we had the misstep. So we're going turn 1 Lavinia. No protection, but it resolves. Lavinia is great against Jewel, for sure. So they're just jamming this Time Vault. Luckily we have the answer with this Needle. And we have a One Ring. So this turn we can Needle, next turn we can One Ring. because they have a Saga going and a Vault. So definitely good to have the Needle in our hand for sure. So they can't make a creature here with their Saga. It's very good for us. So I think we just, no. Okay, so we don't play the ring. We just elect to hold up, making a token. So their Saga's popping off, so we're making a token and we're gonna fetch just in case they have a Needle in their deck. And they just concede. All right, so that was a quick one. On to the next game. All right, game 2 against Jewel. They're on the play. I guess we keep this hand on the strength of Force of Negation and Lotus. So we're able to misstep their Soul Ring. Yeah, I'm probably going to misstep anything at that point just to get my value. We get a Fragmentize, so we're just going to Fragmentize their mana source. And White Plume on turn 1. Very, very good. Get our Island probably. Yep. Get our Saga ticking. Yeah, so our hand was insane. So now they have a Sad Opal and 4 cards in hand. A Workshop's really good though. Alright, we're going to put the counters on to just try to end the game. Especially because we have a Saga. Make more creatures. Alright, and we have a Force. We're cooking now. Yeah, we sort of had it all this game. Luckily, they didn't have an explosive turn 1 start, because those are often hard to handle. So they're going to Metamorph, copy our guy. But, like I was saying before, it's really good to put counters on your guy against Jewel. I know scrying is great, but when they copy your creature, you always want to have the bigger creature, because it's going to allow you to really pressure their life total 1. And also when they use their Metamorph to copy your guy's bigger. So we're going to make a creature. I mean, we're always going to steal the initiative here because we have the token, but I'm really trying to force myself always to go down the left side of the dungeon against Jewel, even though I really want to scry sometimes. Just because pressuring their life total is such a big deal, especially post-board. So we named Saga with our Needle. And we have 3/5 power creatures in play, so we're looking good here. We can recall, just looking great. Yeah, this was a really good draw for our deck for sure. Strip mine their Workshop, and that's pretty much GG. Yeah. Yeah, we just had like really strong hands that entire match. So that was just a very solid win. All right, this is round 5, and we are playing for a trophy, which I forgot about. So we're 4-0 currently in our league. So this is our trophy match. And this is the second league that I played with this deck. This hand is incredibly broken. But the last league I played, I went 4-1. And I made a couple changes to the deck and then jumped in again. So the deck's been doing very well. Yeah, so we just put 5 permanents into play, 6 permanents into play on turn 1. Let's see, our opponent's start is pretty similar to ours, actually. So they have almost identical permanents as we do. But they have a Karn, so yeah. Yeah, okay. Even though our start was like amazing and they named One Ring on the Needle. Wow. So we had a pretty amazing start for sure, but them having the Karn is lights out. Yeah, it just completely negates everything we had, which is unfortunate for sure. But we're not completely dead. I mean, we have a Saga, we have land drops to make, so we can maybe crawl out of this, but yeah, the Karn is pretty much just the nail in the coffin. And that's what I have been hearing against other Jewel players, like when they're in the Jewel mirror, just whoever has the Karn wins. It's just the null rod, I guess, the one-sided null rod. So they went and grabbed a Lodestone Golem with their Karn, which they're going to play. We're going to Swords it, obviously, because we don't want a 5-power creature in play. And they chose to put this guy in play instead of making a Karn Struct, which is kind of weird. I don't know if I agree with that. Because I just feel like making a token creature is just free. I don't know. They could have plussed on the Karn and killed our Mox or something. So interesting here, we drew a Lavinia and decided to play that instead of make a construct, which is probably incorrect for sure. But I think my thought process here was like, they don't have a lot of lands and they're going to lose them off their sagas when they go off. And maybe maybe Lavinia will help us get out of this, but their creatures are just going to be so much bigger. Yeah, so they're Karn plus on our Jet. The sad ring, we only got to activate it one time. So we only get one token off of this construct. We grab a needle and we name Manifold Key. We had a lot of different things we could have named at this point in the game. We could have named Saga, we could have named Karn or Key. And I guess I thought Key was just probably gonna be the worst offender. Yeah, the Karn definitely killed us, so. And we don't play Karn, so, but we do play Null Rods post board, so let's go and try and find those. Okay, we did lose game 1, so we're on the play here. Our hand's really, really good. So our stuff's resolving, which is great. And I'm going to try to sequence this to where we can Dungeoneer and Time Walk. So I'm going to grab an island if it resolves, and it does. So when the Dungeoneer resolves, I think we're like, the coast is clear to just like Time Walk here. And I guess our opponent didn't think that was a good idea because they finally use a force on this. So I think if the Time Walk would have resolved, we would have probably ran away with this game. But now we get to see what they can do on turn 1. Jewel always has the most broken turn 1s. Just because their whole deck is just mana. Mystic Forge is great. They immediately exile. Looks like they got a jewel off, or an emerald off the top. Alright, so we're gonna untap with a Dungeoneer. We're definitely going counters because we have our crypt in play and we don't want to lose to our crypt, and we just want to try to end the game. We draw a force, so maybe we can spin into a blue card, which we don't. I can't remember if we go Saga or Strip Mine here. I think Strip Mine's probably better just to stop them. Yeah, we go Strip Mine. So they have a key. Alright, so I spin into a blue card, so we're gonna have to use our recall as a blue card to counter this Manifold Key, which I think is definitely what I want to do, because Manifold Key is definitely one way they get out of this game, by untapping that monolith. Looks like we lost our flip. Like, we're at 13 life already. Wow. Okay. Alright, opponent's at 8. And I just stack it so we can just put the swords in our graveyard. Kind of a cool trick with top and the Dungeoneer is you can sort of manipulate the top of your deck and either draw a land if you want to land, or draw or essentially surveil a spell into the graveyard that you don't want to draw. So yep, and they scoop it up. So on to game 3. All right, game 3, trophy on the line. Our clocks are pretty similar, so that's not really an issue. I'm playing on my computer that's a little bit faster, so we're not having that issue. So we have a misstep for our top, because when I play on my other computer, I tend to time out frequently because the computer is just terrible. So we go for the Soul Ring instead of just immediately going for the Lord Revealed, which I don't know if it's correct or not. But our hand's pretty good. I mean, we have a Force, we have a Hull Breacher, Lavinia. These are all great cards against them. They have a ring. I was thinking about maybe countering this, but I think having the Hull Breacher in play, having the Lavinia in play just sort of like stops the shenanigans. But it turns out that that's not really... I probably should have never let that resolve, and probably in future games I'm going to fight over it immediately. In this turn sequence, I played the White Plume over the Hull Breacher to hit a white mana source so I could play Lavinia, because I know this turn I wanted to play either Lavinia or Hull Breacher. So I went with the line to get 2 creatures in play, which I thought was better. It lets me hold a blue card for Force as well. So, but I'm playing the ring. I know how good the ring is. I definitely should have put the Hull Breacher in play or tried to fight over the ring on the stack, because I know from this league and just playing it a little bit and just seeing the ring, you don't want your opponent to have a ring. So I fight over the Time Walk here. And they have a Dismember. So they have 3 lands in play, so they can actually play that. So yeah, I think everything just kind of crumbled here. I definitely think I played something wrong at some point, because I'm staring at a White Plume with no counters on it, and I have a Saga and a Waste. Like I don't know. I definitely should have put counters on this and just tried to bash, because that's all I have left. Because counters with the combination of the counters on the One Ring are going to help close the game out, but instead I chose to scry, which was a huge mistake. So I didn't even listen to my own advice. I went for the play the long game. Playing the long game with no cards in hand is definitely not what you want to be doing. But they're using a significant amount of their life total. All right, so they're at 7 off the PO. Cast One Ring again. Yeah. I really wish I had a Dauntless in play right now. That would really help me out, but I'm just stuck with a White Plume with no counters on it. And this is the instance where they can copy my creature, and they're the same power, so if I try to attack, they're gonna just trade. So it's like, what's the point? So I definitely think that the huge mistake was not putting the counters on. Drawing a Wasteland, which is pretty much a blank. I attack here, and I'm not sure why I attacked. It's definitely... They have protection, which I think I forgot about, but I think I just wanted to make the trade and then play the Saga, but they didn't trade, and then I remember they had protection. I think because their previous turn took so long. Because I'm looking at the clock, and they only have 7 minutes left on their clock, so as opposed to my 13, so they're using a lot of clock. They're at 4, and like I have no ability to trap, because I went down the wrong side of the dungeon, and like I'm just eliminating outs from my deck, because if I just draw a white plume, I can just play it, trap them, they're dead. But unfortunate, they're able to hold the initiative, put counters on, and basically do what I want to be doing against them. So they're going to 1 here, and they are playing a Jewel. Okay, and they PO. Okay. Wow. Yeah, so they're just doing the thing. They're at 1. I don't think there's any way I can win this game even with them at 1 life, though. Yeah, we're just drawing nothing. Pearl while they're casting Coveted Jewels. So we do have our Saga in play, which is not nothing, but we're so far behind. Let's see what they... Oh, and they have a Hull Breacher. Wow. I don't remember Jewel playing Hull Breacher. Maybe it's some sideboard, or maybe they just decided to play Hull Breacher in their deck. I've definitely seen a lot of cool stuff people are playing because of the online token where you have the all access pass. So it's definitely getting a lot more people in the queues, playing decks, playing vintage, having fun. All right, so they have another Jewel. We're just I don't think we can win this game. I think it's impossible. I'm not sure why I don't concede. I just sort of... And they have a recall, so they're just doing everything. And they have a Metamorph. And they don't even... Wow. They're just metamorphing for a Jewel. I think opponent is just kind of trying to do as much as they can with their deck, and just trying to yeah, so they're POing for 1 million. And they have 15 cards left in their deck. Wow. So they've drawn 45 cards. Cool. I just sort of let them do it. I think that's probably what it was. I just sort of wanted to let them just sort of play their deck and have fun and just, do the thing. Because I'm super dead. And they also only have 30 seconds left on their clock too, which is not nothing. But I don't think that matters because they just need 1 more attack step. I mean, we're going to have a blocker off the Saga, but I think we would need to draw a second creature to just have 2 blockers. But they only have 20. They have less than 30 seconds on their clock. And we draw the Null Rod. Wow. That's something. Yeah, that's something. So, not really sure what I'm doing here. I think I'm just gonna make a guy and play a Null Rod and just sort of pass the turn. They have 20 seconds left. Wow. So they have a second creature, so that pretty much solidifies the win because they only need 1 combat step. So, yeah, unfortunately, we don't get the trophy on this one, so that's okay because we have a prelim coming up and we're going to jump into that. Okay, welcome to the second part of this video. This is going to be the prelim recording. The deck is entirely the same except for 1 small change, and we upgraded Lavinia to have the old school border, like the boomer border, so hopefully that brings us some luck in our prelim matches. So let's go ahead and jump into those. And funny enough, round 1 we get a bye, so we're immediately jumping into round 2. All right, and our opponent is on a Luris deck and leads on Wasteland Pass. So we're gonna Pithing Needle Wasteland and then play our Saga, because if we played our Saga first, like in a previous game I played, I went Saga, then I went Needle, and they immediately countered it, knowing what I was gonna name was Wasteland. But either they don't have a counter spell or they don't really care. So it worked out for us this game. But this is round 2 of the prelim because we did get a bye. So our opponent is 1-0. We are 1-0-2. Looks like we're going to be able to get some Urza tokens in play. So I definitely always elect to try to make constructs against Lurrus instead of play my spells, just because it's a little more efficient. So they are on the blue-black version of Lurrus, not on the blue-white, which I think I mentioned previously. We played this match earlier in the same video that the black version, I think I'm worse against the blue-black version, but I think I'm probably just bad against both versions. I don't think it really matters which version it is. I just have been struggling against the Lurrus deck. So no attacks from opponent because I can make a construct that's immediately a 3/3. But I think the black version, blue-black version of Lurrus struggles more against constructs, maybe because they don't play as much removal and they opt to play the Bowmaster instead. Not really sure. Haven't really looked at the lists in any sort of like hyper detail, but I just know I don't like it. Don't like the cat. So it looks like stuff's resolving even though they have recalled, which is good for us. So we have our White Plume in play. Yeah, we're cooking this game for sure. Resolving the needle on Wasteland definitely is helping, because the Lurrus deck doesn't use their Wasteland in any sort of mana way. They only use their Wastelands to basically just keep you off lands. That's their number one goal. Alright, looks like opponent's going to time walk, try to dig for some answers. I mean, notable, we have a lot of power. We have 13 power in play. They still have their Lurrus in exile. They don't have a bauble going. They just have a singular Bowmaster. They find a Saga. Saga notably worse after the time walk is already resolved. Okay, they're putting the Lurrus in hand. I'm not sure if this deck plays Fatal Push or anything like that main deck. Cut down, anything like that. But I do think when the new set releases, I'm going to try going back to Esper and playing around more with the Esper version because of the new removal spell in the next set. Because it's 2 mana and cannot be countered and just removes any creature or Planeswalker 3 or less, so it's like an uncounterable kill spell for Lurrus. So then I don't have to worry about messing around with, the cage and all that. I can just answer the Lurrus straight up. Alright, so once the Bowmaster's out of play, I can safely ponder with no repercussions of giving them a construct. Or excuse me, not a construct, Orc Army. Alright, so we're doing everything we want to do this game. I untap a token. And they draw a card and concede. Alright, good win against Lurrus. Alright, game 2 against this Lurrus deck. This is the blue-black version. Looks like we're going to take a mulligan here. Looks like we're going to 5. It's unfortunate. Not sure why we keep this ring. We're so far away from ring. But I guess it's just something to look forward to. Alright, so opponent is on mono bauble draw. They just cast 3 baubles, which is kind of weird. I don't know. I guess their hand can just turn into any hand at that point. But mulling to 5 is definitely an issue. Well, they have 2 mana on turn 1. drawing 3 cards. So the possibility of having a Bowmaster is very likely. And as predicted, they do have a Bowmaster immediately for our Ponder. I'm gonna fire the Ponder off like 100%. So this is interesting. There's no white mana in the Ponder, but I elect not to shuffle. I think I'm just sort of gambling here. A mull to 5, gamble that they don't have a wasteland. Just praying for no wasteland. Because I do think I can probably pull out of this. I mean, they went mono bobble draw, and I could Urza Saga Soul Ring. I have a Swords. So there is a world I actually do fight with a 5-card hand here in some meaningful way. Right, they put Luris in hand, pass a turn. We're going to draw the Dauntless. So we go Saga into Soul Ring into Dauntless. And they immediately force, which is fine. They did exile a Ledger Shredder. Probably good to get rid of that because I am a Bowmaster deck. Or I'm not a Bowmaster, I'm a Hull Breacher deck. So, that would prevent all of their looting effects with the Ledger Shredder. Alright, so they have 2 Sagas now. Looks like they're casting their Luris. Yeah, Luris is in play. They're going to get a Bobble draw. So I think if I can remove the Luris and make a construct, I think we're going to be in a good place. Our life total's not terribly low yet. We draw Savines. So Savines Reclamation is a card that I'm testing out of the sideboard against Luris. It's just specifically against is for Luris matchup. I can bring it in against other decks and stuff, but I'm specifically trying it against Luris just because of the grind factor of their deck, and I want to be able to sort of have the option to sort of compete on that level, bringing back the best thing in my graveyard and then bringing back hopefully 2 things out of my graveyard in a later stage of the game. But Savines only brings back 3 or less, so it doesn't bring back the dungeon creature or the ring. And that's probably, it brings back the entirety of the rest of my deck. So I choose not to trade here. Going to 10. Can make a construct and search. Hopefully they don't have a dress down or something. Let's see what I get. Maybe a Lotus to try to cast the ring. I'm not sure. It's so funny, all these Urza Saga triggers going on the stack. It's just like so many construct wars going on in this format. What do we grab? We grab a Lotus. So we're gonna try to Savine. Okay. And they have a Fluster, sure. So if we would have went for a ring, probably would have been better, but ring and Bowmaster don't really mix. So I guess this makes sense. Kind of unfortunate. We do have an immediately answer to their Saga, which is good, but their constructs are bigger. Luris has been handled, So that is gone, but we still have issues on board that need to be addressed. So I go for the double block here. Go to 6. My construct goes down to 2 power. Okay, and they have a wasteland, so they just completely take me off all my colors. It's pretty good. We draw an island, which gives us some glimmer of hope. I mean, I think I would probably just jam the ring just to get a fog for a turn if I get a land. But we're definitely in a bad place here. So if we draw a land, we're just going to slam the ring. We do draw the land. All right. Your last card in hand is something for this. Of course. Force of Will. Yep, so on brand, the Luris opponent always has it. They always have everything. So we're dead on board, so I scoop. And we go to game 3. All right, game 3 against Luris. We're on the play. Looks like we go to 6 on the play. All right, so we got turn 1 Soul Ring. Our hand is pretty weak. Let's see if the top resolves. It does, so we get to spin, looking for maybe a blue. Right, so we found an island and a cage. Cage not particularly useful this early in the game, obviously, but good to have. Probe. So our opponent is operating on complete knowledge of what we're doing, which is unfortunate. They have another bauble. They're going to see exactly what we draw. And they have a sapphire. Cycling, they didn't like their top card. Alright, so they're going to get 2 draws here. Unfortunately, we don't have blue mana in play currently to punish this, because we could flash a Hull Breacher in on our upkeep. Alright, so they force our White Plume. And they knew we drew the island. So they know our whole hand, complete full information. Let's see what they have here. 3 mana. Okay, so they're going to Demonic Tutor, just punishing us for not having a Hull Breacher in play, because I'm pretty sure they just get a recall here and just recall now because they know it's going to resolve. Yep. So they elect not to make a token in exchange for having a resolved Ancestral, which is 100% correct. And we draw a brick. And there's just more bricks on top of our deck. Yeah, I just try to main phase this, and opponent's not having anything to do with it. Yeah, so we got nothing. The top of our deck is not helping us whatsoever. They're not even gonna make a token. That's never good. Opponent's just more interested in probably playing Luris. So they elect to play a Lotus. Oh, because they have the Wasteland. Okay, because I was like, why did they play a Lotus instead of just a Bauble? But if they know we have the sword, so taking us off the white is good for them. So I try to brainstorm here, looking for action, and the Lurrus deck, of course, just has the answer. So they have a Bowmaster. So we're pretty much dead here. They're going to make a 4-power creature, ping us 3 times, and we draw absolutely nothing. Wow. Yeah, so it's unfortunate. They drew 9 more cards than we did, so definitely put us in the ground. I'm just running out this cage because, you know, whatever. I'm gonna spin. Top of our deck is literally all mana sources. We have no threat. We draw off our top, gives them another ping, just to play this Pearl to try and resolve a swords on this. I don't even know what we're trying to kill here. What do we even... Oh, we target the 5/5 free token. Sure. And, of course, they have a Flusterstorm, so that doesn't even resolve. So we got completely destroyed. On to the next one. All right. This is round 2, or excuse me, round 3 in our prelim. It's actually our round 2 because we did not play round 1. All right, our hand has a counterspell, a saga. We got a top in play, so far so good. We don't have any colored mana, but I think that's okay. I think the top, if they wasteland us here, so Petal, interesting. What's our opponent doing? Lauren. I don't like Lauren. So I'm going to spin here to try to figure out which card I should get rid of. Just to get some more information on should I pitch the Hull Breacher or the Brainstorm. And I go for pitching the Hull Breacher just because there's no blue mana on top of my deck immediately. I would, of course, like to put a creature in play against mono white, but I think the Brainstorm would be a little more useful. So this turn cycle, I do find colored mana, and I just take out their tomb. This prevents me from making a construct, but I think that's okay. Tokens are good, but I'd rather keep them off 3 mana. They have a Mana Vault. I didn't know this deck played Mana Vault. Interesting. Not sure I've ever seen a mono white deck play Mana Vault. Maybe that's new. So we grab a Pearl off our Saga so we can jam our White Plume. And I think it's safe to just run out the White Plume, because our opponent's obviously going to have initiative creatures in their deck, so waiting for them to get it, for us to get it, for them to get it, it doesn't make sense. It's just get it going, because they're going to steal it back. You're going to steal it back. You're just hindering yourself by not just starting the process as soon as you can. So they have Cavern on Human. Well, we don't have a counter, so that's whatever. So they have the big dungeon creature here. I spin in response just to sort of get some idea of what's on top of my deck. We have a Urza Saga coming, which is good. No removal spell though, but we can brainstorm with a fetch land to try to get out of this. And I fetch immediately. Interesting. Okay, we found... Oh, I think I just wanted to clear the top of my deck for a spin. We did find a swords, luckily. We only play 1 sword main deck. So that's our singular copy of removal. But it's clutch here because that creature is hard to interact with. So we steal the initiative back. We definitely want to forge here to have a big creature. And we have 2 blue for a dig, potentially, if we draw it. I don't think I just randomly brainstorm here. I think I just probably would hold it. Cavern on Cleric. So this is an uncounterable white plume. So now they're going to have a 5/5. We're going to have a 5/5. But we don't have any more targeted removal in our deck. We've already used our 1 swords. So I'm not sure how we're going to navigate this. Alright, we're probably going to draw the top here. Play the Saga out. Play the top. Okay, so I leave Time Walk on top. I'm trying to get them to trade so I can cast the Time Walk, and they do trade. Because I think the only way I try to win this game is with the Urza Saga Time Walk trick, where you can immediately make the token. Not sure why I tapped the island to... Oh, I brainstormed a Needle on Wasteland probably. Yep. Yeah, I'm not sure why I tapped the island to brainstorm, duh. Alright, so they're taking 1 damage off their vault. They are going to trap us. They don't have a creature in play, but they have plenty of mana to cast one. But hopefully this token can contest the initiative. They have another big Dungeoneer. Oh man. So Seasoned Dungeoneer, just to kind of talk about that card a little bit, basically I always try to play at least 1 copy, maybe 2 if I can fit it, because Seasoned Dungeoneer is unblockable in all circumstances. So it's really good when you're trying to close a game against like Oath, when you need like 1 creature to get in, just to get that last point through the, if they have a Trax in play or something, and you could just like... So Seasoned Dungeoneer, I always try to play at least 1 copy in these blue-white decks, just for the added benefit of stealing initiative and just overall causing headaches for your opponent. Alright, so opponent is pretty much dead here. We have 2 6/6s. We have an unblockable creature because of our Manifold Key. So we're going to get the trap them to 5. We have 2 lethal attackers on board. Not sure what they can do here. So we were able to squeak this out against mono white game 1, which is great. Alright, the Dungeoneer can steal the initiative as always. They draw an Ancient Tomb. And also I just love the Dungeoneer trick with the top. I think that's really fun to do, when you can set up the top of your deck to sort of mill or draw lands as you see fit. Yep, opponent concedes, so we're going to go to game 2. Alright, this is round 3, game 2. We're on the draw against mono white. Opponent leads with a Chromox. I let it resolve, playing the bait Chromox game, where do you counter the creature or the Chromox? Archon. We counter the Archons. So the trick is, do you counter the Chromox or do you let it resolve and hopefully they don't have a cavern? Sort of the gambit there. Looks like I let the Chromox resolve this time. I don't really know. I sometimes I counter the Mox, sometimes I counter the creature. It just depends on how I'm feeling. Alright, so we have a ring on turn 2 if they don't wasteland us. They do also have access to white. So they did have the cavern for Lauren, which we can't interact with, so that's going to resolve. Killing our Saga, which is unfortunate for us. So we need to rip a land off the top to cast one of our 4 drops, and it is the best land, the Lotus. So I use the Dungeoneer to fix my mana for blue, so next turn cycle I can 100% play the ring if they don't have a strip mine, obviously. And this allows me to play Lavinia as well. So definitely one of the better draws in my deck at that current point. All right, let's see. They have their own Seasoned Dungeoneer. It cannot be countered, so it resolves. Alright, so that's going to be the end for them, unless they have like Thalia or something. A 2-drop. So they don't have a good attack. They're going to pass, so we're going to be able to steal the initiative and keep it for a turn due to the One Ring, which is amazing. I love it. I don't think I'll play more than 2. I was thinking about maybe playing 3, but then I'm like, nah. Kind of want to play other stuff, so just having like the 2 rings in the deck has just been great. I think that's the perfect number. And I don't really have a lot of ways to get rid of the ring if it gets to be too high. So that's where playing multiples does help, but I do play Tinker, I do play Teferi. Those are my 2 ways to reset the ring. And then I do play the 1 additional copy to help reset it. Another Dungeoneer. Doesn't really matter because they're dead. So they're at 10. We're going to steal the initiative back and trap them, and we have a 6-power creature in play, so they're pretty much dead. Yeah, so they're attacking for their trigger. It's not going to do damage. We draw a White Plume. Uncastable. I think we left that White Plume on top. I'm not sure why we did. We can't even play it. It doesn't really matter. So if they had a removal spell, we would probably be in a lot of trouble, but we drew the white source. But I think I kept it on top in case they did have a removal spell, because we were going to draw so many cards that I think drawing 5 cards, we can probably find a white source. So I think it was probably okay leaving the White Plume on top. All right, this is round 4 of the prelim, final round, trying to get a 3-1 in the prelim. We are on the play. Our hand's pretty set up. I mean, we have all the stuff we like. So I elected to play the Tundra to keep up the Hull Breacher in case they were on Jewel. So Orchard tells us they're on Oath. They have Lotus, Jet. They got something here. Immediately Show and Tell. So I'm going to try to force this, pitching the Lavinia. They have a Fluster, so this is going to resolve. So they had turn 1 Show and Tell with Fluster backup. Very good for them. So I flash in the Hull Breacher, so this gives me the opportunity to drop the Urza Saga into play off the Show and Tell. The question is are they going to put a Traxa or a Bullet Citadel into play? Both are devastating, terrifying, game ending. It is a Traxa. So looking at what they chose, they only took 3 cards, no 4 cards. So we're going to be able to untap here. I'm not sure that it matters. We have no cards in play. We would have to rip like Caracas right here. We draw a ring, which isn't nothing. That'll buy us a turn. Okay, it resolves. Immediately draw, really trying to find the Caracas. So hopefully on the next turn we can find it. And they just, wow, aggressively use their strip mine. I think that's probably incorrect. Because I'm pretty sure this deck doesn't play Wasteland. I think they only have the one strip mine. Unless they have Boseiju in hand, but they don't have a green source. So we're dead here. I'm just playing stuff out. I don't know if it matters. I probably could have conceded here to let them know I'm not playing, or I'm basically showing them more of my deck, which I probably shouldn't have done because I'm 100% dead here. Because they're going to be able to reload off a new Atraxa. I do have the One Ring going, but I don't think it matters. Just being able to reload every turn is really good. So it looks like they took Tinker, Mox Emerald. So this was in their upkeep, so they're going to Vamp. Which I can only assume is for Time Walk. Yeah. And I concede at that point after seeing the Time Walk. So we're just going to go to the next one. Okay, round 4. Game 2 up against Oath on the play. This hand has a turn 1 Lavinia and a Force of Negation for their turn in case it doesn't resolve. Just went ahead and grabbed the basic just to be safe. I know this, I don't think this deck plays Wastelands, but whatever. I just got a basic just to be sure. So they play Misty into a Brainstorm main phase. Pretty sure I'm going to Wasteland here over Saga-ing. Saga's good, but Wasteland's better. Alright, opponent. I have exactly one answer to one of your things, so hopefully this Lavinia can go the distance. So we have so much mana here. I think if I have to force, I'm going to pitch the Lorien. Because I think I would rather have access to a dig. Mystical. They grab Dismember off Mystical. They can't cast Dismember for 2 more turns. Playing the long game, I see. Alright, so it is an Oath. And we do pitch Lorien. Yeah. Not sure if that's correct or not, but we draw the fifth mana source rather. So we could have hard cast Lorien, but how would we have ever known that? I still like having access to dig over Lorien though. So they're going to have 3 mana here, probably for a Show and Tell. Yep, Show and Tell. So I'm going to dig here in response. I'm either looking for a counter spell or something good to put into play off this Show and Tell. Just because having Lavinia in play is so good because all my spells are just guaranteed to pretty much resolve. Alright, so I kept up the white in case I drew a swords. Looks like I grabbed both my dungeon creatures. So this allows me to put in the better dungeon creature. Yeah. So I think I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but this is why I always play at least 1 to 2 copies, is for this exact scenario that we're witnessing right now. Is they're at 10, and I'm gonna have an unblockable creature even though they have Atraxa in play. It's amazing. It's very, very good. I mean, granted, yes, we do have a Saga. We can grab a key and make something unblockable, but this is just so much better. So we're gonna untap, we're gonna forge. So they're dead, so 100% dead. Yep. Forge onto the Seasoned Dungeoneer, attack, and then play the White Plume to trap them. And we also drew a force just because. Yep. Trap, attack. Alright, opponent sees it, concedes. Alright, so we're going to go to game 3. Alright, game 3 against Oath. We're on the draw. Yeah, we're on the draw. So game 3, this is the final game of our prelim. Trying to get a 3-1 against Oath. Our hand has a lot of mana, and now it has 2 counter spells in it, so I think we kept it on the strength of the fetch land and the brainstorm and the 1 force. But drawing a 2nd force, now we have access to 2 counter spells. Like, that's so good. Alright, Commando is pretty good. I like Commando. So we're going to brainstorm here. Alright, so we have 3 counter spells up now. Kind of crazy. But that's all we got, is just counter spells. Alright, Oath of Druids. Alright, so we're going to force pitch the Useless Tinker. They're going to force back. I think we pitched a misstep here. Yeah, so we're going to force again with the misstep. Opponent is fetching, and they have a Fluster. Wow, so they had Force and Fluster back up, and it's not enough because we have a 3rd Force, and they have 1 card left in hand. So, I mean, this could still go bad for us. I mean, their last card could be another Oath, and then, you know, this is all meaningless. But more than likely it's not, because I don't think they would have fought as hard if it was. Top's a good draw. Alright, so we pretty much we both unloaded all of our resources on that 1 interaction, and we're both going to top deck mode. But I'd rather be in top deck mode with a top. Alright, so we spin for a Saga, we immediately draw. We're trying to do the combo with the Time Walk and the Urza Saga. You always want to Time Walk before you show them the Saga. Better chance of resolution. Alright, I think we just pass at this point, just to keep up making a construct. Yeah, because we do want to end the game. We need to put some power in play and defeat them. They have a probe just for a cycle, and they pass. End step, we make a construct. And I wonder what we grab off the Saga. I wonder... maybe a Soul Ring. Maybe a Cage. It's a Cage. So the Cage is just extra protection in case they do top deck a Oath. Alright, so they have Dismember. It's fine. You lost exactly the same amount of life pretty much. Yeah, so I got the Cage instead of the mana just to prevent any sort of top deck by them. Alright, opponent's not drawing anything, so that's good for us. recall. It's great. Recall immediately. Resolves. We don't draw any lands, which is kind of awkward. But we do have a top in play again. We got 3-point chunks here. So next turn we can play Lavinia. We can play Commando. We can try to spin for a land on the upkeep. I think we just, yeah, so we just take a natural draw. It's a force, which is a great draw. So drawing the force, we're more incentivized to play Lavinia. This doesn't present lethal, but it prevents any sort of, it helps our Force of Will resolve for sure, because we would have had exact lethal with the Commando. But yeah, great finish against Oath. I've played against Oath a lot, so I know the matchup pretty well by now. And yeah, so a 3-1 in the prelim and a 4-1 in the league, so that's pretty good. And the previous league I did another 4-1, and then the previous league before that I did a 3-2. So the deck's been putting up some good results for sure. I'm definitely going to play this on Saturday. Saturday is the showcase, so hopefully it performs well at the showcase, and I'll see you then, and maybe we have a good result and I'll make a video. So all right, well, thanks for rolling with me, and I'll see you in the next one.